Welcome back. So next up, we're talking about a really important utility that has to do with the display property. And it's going to tie into Flexbox, which we're going to talk about in the next couple of videos. But to start, if we reference this document again that talks about the changes, in Bootstrap 3, there used to be all these classes called hidden and visible. I actually have them open here. So these were ways of showing and hiding content on different screen sizes. So you could say this thing should be hidden on small or visible on large, and it would change the display property to trigger those, to make it happen behind the scenes, basically. So those are actually all gone. Instead, there is a new utility called D for display. And you can do the exact same thing. You can actually do more than you could with the hidden and visible utilities. I think it would be simpler if I just show you what it looks like. So if we go to utilities on Bootstrap 4, display. What we have here, we always start with D for display, and then a value. So we could say D none, D inline, inline block. These are all straight from CSS. Block, table, I had never used these. Flex, which we will come back to in a moment. But really, this is a way of just changing the display of something, the display property. So I could show you a really quick example of that. It's not that exciting. But I have a new file here. And let's say that I make an H1. And I'm just going to make an H1 and just say hello. So by default, if we look at an H1, I'm also going to give it a border. How about that? Class equals border, border danger. So by default, it is a block level element. And if we inspect that, we would see that somewhere. We'd have to scroll down a bit. Let's look for display, display set to block. Okay, it goes all the way across. But if I wanted to, I could say, actually, this H1 is now inline, D-inline. And there we go. It's now an inline element. So that's one way of using it. We could take a span, which I just fast forwarded through, and give it display block. It's usually inline. And now you can see it goes all the way across. That border takes up the entire space. So that's one way of using it. But what I care more about are the responsive utilities using the breakpoints, where we can actually hide and show things between different breakpoints. So the syntax for this is D for display again, dash a screen size, small, medium, large, extra large, dash a value like none or block or inline. So using those, we can show and hide things. So let's start simple. Let's add an H1, and this H1 will just say hide me on, I don't know, let's say extra large. Not sure why we would want that, but let's say that's what we want. So right now it's there all the time, right? We haven't done anything. So what I can do is say display after extra large is none. Refresh the page. We shouldn't notice a change until we get to extra large, and it's now gone. Or I could do another one of these and say hide me, let's do, let's say always hidden except large. How about that? So to do that, we can't just say D large and then make it block, for example, because that's not really going to help us with all of the other breakpoints. So it will change display to block. It's actually already blocked because it's an H1. But what we want to do is say from extra small up, no display. So there is no D-XS. It's the default. So we say display none always, starting from extra small and up, and then, okay, actually, once we get to large, change it to block. And then if we trigger it now, refresh the page, it's hidden, you can't see anything. And we get to large, it shows up. But there's still a little problem, which is that it does show on large, but it still shows on extra large. Always hidden except large. Well, it's always hidden except large and extra large. So to fix that, we also want to say, okay, once you get to extra large, go hide again. Display none. So remember, the way these work is from extra large and up, from large and up. So if we want to change it again, once we get to extra large, we have to explicitly do that. And now it's working. Hide me on extra large is hidden on extra large. And then this one that says always hidden except large is always hidden except on large. All right, so that's all there is to the display utility. We could change it. Instead of block, we could make something inline, of course. The formula is just D dash a breakpoint and then dash some other value. none, inline, inline block, and block. Those are the ones I use the most, as well as flex, which I will detail in the next video. But you could probably gather by setting d-flex as a class, it will set the display property to flex, just like d-inline sets it to inline. So let me show you an example now of something that you might end up doing. When would you hide some content versus show it? Well, let's make a Jumbotron. So this has not really changed from Bootstrap 3. So I'm going to go to my Jumbotron. I'll just copy this Jumbotron right here. And I'm going to put it in my document. I'm going to do it in a separate container just to make space. So I'm going to make a container div, put my Jumbotron in there, refresh my page. Here's my Jumbotron. Well, let's say that once we get to a small size, what I'm actually going to do is take this lead text and make it a little bit larger. And, well, not larger, longer. So I'm going to do like lorem 60, which is 60 characters of lorem ipsum. So this looks okay. I mean, it doesn't look great, to be honest, but it looks okay on this size. But on extra small, it's just taking up way too much space. So I don't want that. So I actually want to hide all of this when we are on extra small. So what I'm going to do is find that paragraph and say always, so there is no extra small breakpoint, so I have to say display none always. And of course it's hidden on extra small, but it's always hidden. So now I have to go and correct it and say once we get to small, which is the first thing after extra small, it should go back to block. So if I refresh, it's not there, but we get to small, and now it is. And maybe I want to change that to be medium even. So now it's not there at all on these sizes, but then we get to medium and it shows up. So that's one use case. You can hide and show things. We're going to use this in the projects we build at the end, where we have something that we're hiding and showing. It's an icon. We don't need to take up a lot of space with icons on small screen sizes. Often you'll see websites do this with photos, with large headings. You may not need to display depending on the size of the screen. Okay, so that's the display utility. Next, we're going to dive into dflex and flexbox. That's coming up.